you would download that version instead. Then you'll follow the steps to install VirtualBox. Now at this point, again, if you have any issues during the installation and you can't figure out a solution, please reach out in the forums at cyber.com/forums.
Here's how to make over 100 ad creatives in just minutes by using artificial intelligence. First things first, we're gonna head over to Ad Creative AI. Now we're gonna
Here we have the Burp Suite Community Edition, and we click on the Proxy tab and ensure the Intercept is on. So here we can see that Intercept is on, so that's great. So what we can do next is to go ahead and enter some normal value and go ahead and click Submit, and that will get intercepted immediately by Burp Suite, as you can see right here. So what I can do now is to copy the entire post, all right, the entire post request, and copy it. And what I will do now is to save it into a file, all right? So I'll save it into a file, and I can go ahead and save this file, all right? So let's go ahead and say create a file, and let's name it as OWASP Bricks SQL Injection, okay? So let's go ahead and do a touch, OWASP Bricks Injection, okay? Hit enter on this, and what I can do next is use the mouse pad, open up this particular file, all right? So open it up, and we can see right here, and I can paste it, and I can save it. So let's go ahead and save the information. So this is OWASP Bricks Injection, okay? So what I can do next is to go ahead and use SQL Map to help us target the parameter automatically to find out whether it is injectable, whether it is vulnerable to structured query language injection. So all I got to do now is enter.
My boss specifically mentioned that I got the job because of the certificate, and I got a $20,000 raise. It's nice to be financially stable. It's a whole different
So right in front of us, we have Open Web Application Security Project Bricks. So this is a vulnerable web application platform for us to load our SQL injection and payloads into the website so that we can gain access into different components of the database system. And the database systems houses all the sensitive data records like usernames, email addresses, passwords. Whether the passwords are protected using hashes or not, either way, we will learn about how to break into those passwords too. And that is really scary because the first part is learning about how can we manually run our injection payloads into the site. And the second part is we can identify vulnerable parameters very, very quickly and be able to pull out lots of information easily from a highly automated SQL injection tool. And this is frightening because it speeds up the whole process of penetration testing into any website, any web application platform. So right in front of us, we have Open Web Application Security Project Bricks. And if you see right here, this is a website, and this could be an informational site, it could be a login site, it could be a site that provides e-commerce services, whichever the case is. So if we go to the top right corner, we have this particular section called Login Pages. So let's go ahead and click on it. So once you're in, this is a wonderful way for you to learn about penetration testing onto any web application sites. So right here, all I gotta do is click under, say, the first part, which is basic login. So let's go ahead and click on it. And here it states the following: you are not logged in. And the first thing that you want to do whenever you reach into any site is to go through what I call a happy journey map, meaning that this is what is to be expected from the outcome of the logic that is being built into the web application system. So if I go ahead and enter, say, for example, a username called Loy Liang Yang, okay, and I enter some random password and I click submit. And of course, right here it says the following: wrong username or password. And you see one more particular notification at the bottom, one message here, which is the feedback. And this is useful for you to picture what is going on behind the website as the application server tries to connect to the database and pull out query from the database system. And the database houses all these records like usernames, passwords, email addresses, and so on and so forth. So it has a lot of personal and sensitive data. So right here, what we can see is that we have the following. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go ahead and open up, say, a text editor, and I will call it, say, I will use mousepad, okay? And we can go ahead and open it up. and I can do a right click and I can paste it right here, and we can see over here. And this is how the application servers talk to the database, literally. So here we have select star, which is all from users where name equal, all right, followed by a password. And this is the query that is being sent over from the application server into the database. And right here, what we can notice is that we are trying to find ways of bypassing the security mechanism. And say, we know what is the name. Perhaps that there is a username that we could find on LinkedIn as part of information gathering. We could find on Facebook about the employees of the company, all right, or even in the website itself, they could have a particular page that shows the employees who are working in the company as a directory and so on. So many different ways to do a reconnaissance, to do it. So right here, what we can see is that we have the following. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go ahead and open up, say, a text editor, and I will call it, say, I will use Mousepad, okay? And we can go ahead and open it up, and I can do a right click and I can paste it right here, and we can see over here. And this is how the application servers talk to the database, literally. So here we have select star, which is all the right company, the employee. We have no idea what, and look at what happens. So here I can go back into the website. I can enter Tom. And what I'll do next is to go ahead and copy and paste the payload that we have just created right here. So I can go ahead and copy this, and I'll paste it into the password field. So once I paste it, I'll click submit, and let's see what happens. That's it. We have successfully logged into the site. Successfully log in. And as you see at the bottom, select all from users with name equal Tom. And password, okay, is as such. Or 1 equal 1. And what does or 1 equal 1 means? Right. So if you remember back in school, 1 equal 1 is true, and it always is true. Or 1 equal 1 means that it will always be true. So this statement is always true, and as such, as a result of that, the web application server will issue you, say, a cookie, a session cookie, whichever the case is, and you will gain access into the site. A lot of sites are pretty secure now, and they would have different layers of security. So one of those particular word lists that you want to look out for is actually the word list that could help us find out whether, okay, we have different kind of payloads that we can utilize as part of the SQL injection. And we have over here, we have general, injections, others, stress, vulnerabilities, web services. So let's go ahead and cd and change directory into injections, enter ls, and I can do, say, for example, head SQL.txt. So these are all the different kind of payloads that you can inject into the site, literally. And this is how we can identify whether this particular input field is vulnerable to it. So I can enter cat SQL.txt, hit enter on this, and we can see all these different SQL payloads that you can inject .txt, hit enter, whether, okay, we have, and they would have different layers of security. So one of those particular word lists that you want to look out for is actually the word list that could help us find out whether, okay, we have different kind of payloads that we can utilize as part of the SQL injection. And we have over here, we have general, injections, others, utilized as part of the SQL injection. And we have over here, we have general, injections, others, stress, vulnerabilities, web services. So let's go ahead and cd and change directory into injections, enter ls, and I can do, say, for example, hey, sql.txt. So these are all the different kind of payloads that you can inject into the site, literally. And this is how we can identify whether this particular input field is vulnerable to it. So I can enter cat sql.txt, hit enter on this, and we can see all these different SQL payloads that you can inject into the page. Say, for example, your single quote, your double quote didn't work. Then what can we do? What we can do now is to use other forms of payloads here that you can see to run the attack against that specific parameter and see whether we're able to ultimately get an error page, all right, or to get some kind of response from the server that is different from what is normal. And that's the whole idea behind SQL injection. And next up, what I want to introduce to you is a way for us to do a highly automated matter in terms of finding out whether the input fields are vulnerable. So what I can do now is go ahead and go to the top right corner. I can use Foxy Proxy and we'll click under Burp Suite. So this would enable the proxy to intercept our posts into under Burp Suite. So this would enable finding out whether the input fields are vulnerable. So what I I can do now is go ahead and go to the top right corner. I can use Foxy Proxy and we'll click under Burp Suite. So this would enable the proxy to intercept our posts into the site. So all I got to do now is just go ahead and enter Burp Suite. So I can launch Burp Suite directly from here so that we can see what kind of post is being sent over into the site. Okay, so here I can delete the following temporary file. I will not update now.
Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Burp Suite. So Burp Suite is what's known as an interception proxy. It's a common piece of software used for web application security testing. So there's a number of other options that do similar things other than the Burp Suite. The biggest other competitor would be the OWASP Zap product. I've only ever really used Burp Suite, honestly, because it works pretty well and it's so popular. OWASP Zap, though, it is also a nice alternative. It's pretty comparable to the
So you think you know Wix, but do you really? First up, we've got shape video masks. You can use different shapes to create completely different.
The free version of Burp Suite. And yes, there is a paid version. We'll be talking about some of the pros and cons. So first off, the free version of Burp Suite. It works out like really well, and it's great for learning and testing purposes. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy the paid version right away. That being said, the paid version does have a lot of really nice features. Some of the things the paid version has that the free version doesn't is you can work with project files, you can do automated scans. There's no rate limiting with doing different types of, like password spraying attacks. There's a lot of really great things you can do with the paid version, but it is roughly $450 per year. So it is not a cheap product. But if you're going to be using Burp Suite to make money, as in you're doing this as like a professional or as a consultant, then it would definitely be worth considering. But otherwise, again, for just learning purposes, the free community version is fine. If you want to tinker around with the professional version, they do offer a trial. I believe it's a 30-day trial. You just sign up on the Portswigger website. So Burp Suite is pre-installed on Kali Linux, so it makes it really accessible and easy to use. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And again, this is going to be the free community version. And it's under web application analysis. And we'll launch Burp Suite. Depending on what version of Kali you have, you may get like a Java error message. I'm not getting that message, but if you did, you would just click, to proceed, and you get to a window that looks like this. So if you have the paid version, you can actually create different project files, but that feature does not exist in the community version, which is why we're getting this error message right here. Or not really even an error message, just a warning saying, hey, if you want to be able to use these extra features, you should buy the paid version. So we can't because we don't have the paid version, so we're just going to do the temporary project. And we can also then choose to load a configuration file or just use the default. And this might be helpful if you use Burp Suite quite often, and maybe you use Burp Suite from a wide range of devices. You use it from a Kali Linux virtual machine, and maybe you have it installed on your MacBook, and then maybe your desktop computer at home. If you have a configuration file, you might have saved on like a OneDrive or Dropbox. You can actually use it to load various predefined configurations that you might have, your preferences, and those types of things. I don't have that configured, so I'm going to just use the defaults for now. And it's going to launch and load the dashboard. Burp Suite by itself does not require a ton of resources. It's kind of like a mid-weight application. I'm just running inside of a Kali VM. I don't have a ton of resources allocated to this. I think it's pretty lean, and I don't have any performance issues. So on the dashboard here, first off, we have tasks. You'll see this being populated with various things that we're running within Burp, issues. So if Burp detects any issues with the web application, they'll show up over here. The paid version has a lot more automated testing. This is going to just kind of catch the most critical things, event log, and then advisors. You'll see this also populate with some useful information as we start going through and using it. The real important part of Burp Suite is going to be these tabs at the top. These are going to be kind of the key functions that Burp Suite provides. And at least in my class, we're going to be going through a lot of these throughout the semester. Target's going to be the first tab that we're going to visit. This is where you essentially can start doing your work. And there's two ways you can use Burp Suite as a proxy. Number one, you could use the built-in browser, which is built into new versions of Burp Suite. This is a relatively newer feature, and if you've been using Burp for a while, you probably know that Burp didn't always have this built-in browser just right here that you could launch. Traditionally, you would have to do something with another browser, and this is what I'm also going to show you how to do. You have to configure your other